Hello and thank you for watching. My name is Adam Block and I'm a member of the Planning Board here to present warrant articles 5 and 6 that will replace an outdated industrial district with an updated Highway Commercial 1 district. Article 5 sets out the regulatory framework for the zoning change, while Article 6 represents the corresponding map change. For clarity, Articles 5 and 6 in their current form will require a 2/3 majority vote to pass at town meeting. In addition to this presentation, we're strongly encouraging town meeting members to review the frequently asked questions, the zoning articles themselves, the March 16 presentation materials together with the March 16 public hearing, in addition to the fiscal impact analysis from March 20. These materials can be found on the link below. The Highway Commercial 1 district is bounded by Highland Avenue to the south, Gould Street to the west, the MBTA right-of-way to the north, and 128 to the east. There are three goals for this zoning change. 1, to improve our gateway into town. 2, to enhance public control over development that minimizes neighborhood impact. And 3, to unlock the area's economic potential. The process of rezoning this area began over 7 years ago in 2013. Having successfully rezoned the New England Business Center, the town began studying ways to update remaining industrial districts. This zoning proposal has changed significantly throughout this process that has included more than 45 public meetings. Since 2019, the Planning Board has made the following meaningful changes in response to feedback we received. We changed the use table by adding 240 units of multifamily housing that includes a minimum of 12.5% affordable housing units. We reduced the size of retail uses, and we also eliminated outdated and undesirable uses. We made 5 major changes to the height requirements. Specifically, within 200 feet from Gould and Highland, we reduced the maximum height from 48 feet to 42 feet. We also reduced the maximum height by right to 2.5 stories and the maximum height by special permit to 3 stories. Beyond 200 feet from Gould and Highland, where the topography drops towards 128 by more than 20 feet, we reduced the height by right from 5 stories to 4 stories, and we reduced the height by special permit from 6 stories to 5 stories. We made 3 major adjustments to the floor area ratio. We reduced the special permit FAR from 1.75 to 1.35. We reduced the by right FAR from 1.0 to 0.7. We eliminated the waiver by special permit that enabled an additional 25% floor area ratio. We increased the setback along Gould and Highland from 20 feet to 50 feet. And we increased the open space requirement from 20% to 25%. One of the ways we achieve our first goal to improve our gateway is by changing the uses allowed within the new district. Here you see the use table, comparing the uses allowed by right with the uses allowed by special permit under the existing bylaw, the 2019 proposal, and our current proposal. Our current proposal excludes movie theaters, intense manufacturing, junkyards, dealerships, and distribution warehouses, among other outdated uses which remain allowed under the existing bylaw. Meanwhile, we carried forward other uses that remain relevant in today's market. These carried forward uses include athletic facilities, offices, laboratories, retail and restaurants, among others. Multifamily housing is included as a new use in our proposal. To balance the area need for multifamily housing with its impact on municipal services, we have limited the number of units to 240 apartments with a minimum of 40% and a maximum of 70% being one-bedroom units. We're also requiring that multifamily housing maintain a minimum of 12.5% of affordable housing units that would avoid an unfriendly 40B development over which the town would have very little control. Additional changes in the use table include the size and type of retail allowed to ensure that it is an ancillary use and not a primary use that services occupants of the site and nearby development and nearby residents as a convenience. This size retail is not regarded as destination retail. Another way to improve the gateway is to adjust the dimensional requirements within the district. Here we have outlined the dimensional requirements within 200 feet of Goulden Highland and beyond 200 feet from Goulden Highland. Within 200 feet from Goulden Highland, the floor area ratio by right is 0.7 and by special permit is 1.35. The maximum height by right is 2.5 stories to 35 feet, and by special permit is 3 stories to 42 feet. The front setback along Goulden Highland is 50 feet. The minimum open space requirement is 25%. The FARs are the same level beyond 200 feet from Goulden Highland, where the maximum height by right is 4 stories and the maximum height by special permit is 5 stories. The design plan here is to preserve the 2.5 to 3 story character that is consistent along Highland Avenue, with the taller heights pushed to the rear of the site towards 128, where the elevation drops more than 20 feet. The effect is that a 5-story building would appear as a 4-story building, and a 4-story building would appear as a 3-story building from Gould Street. As we've outlined, these essential elements of zoning have changed substantially as a result of broad community input. Our second goal is to enhance public control over development. This is accomplished by inducing development through the special permit process that bestows broad discretionary powers to the planning board to alter or deny development. It represents the maximum leverage a town may impose, in addition to having a developer pay for any mitigation required. If we wait for a developer to present zoning to us, we miss the market and we end up negotiating against ourselves because the developer is the one establishing that zoning framework. However, if we adopt Articles 5 and 6, then the town sets the zoning framework and the town controls the market. We're not beholden to developers demanding additional relief, and we're able to negotiate town benefits from a position of strength. The town engaged an engineering firm, GPI, to conduct a traffic study based upon maximum build-out conditions of the proposed zoning. The purpose of the study was to determine whether the traffic infrastructure could handle an increase in traffic, and if so, what mitigations would be required or recommended to restore the infrastructure to pre-build conditions. The results of the study found that our roadways can handle an increase in volume from this development and Northland's upcoming mixed-use development on Needham Street. To clear any misunderstanding, at maximum build-out, takings would be required on the site of development itself to widen a section of Gould to accommodate on-site and neighborhood traffic. An easement from Wingate for an additional traffic signal at a site driveway may also be necessary. The left turn from Hunting onto Highland remains at such low volume that a taking on Hunting is not, in fact, recommended nor required. Developers are required to incur the expense of any traffic mitigation and are required to return any level of service to pre-build or better conditions. This is a critical factor that the planning board considers as part of any public approval process for a special permit. The town also engaged a planning firm to conduct a fiscal impact analysis of development based upon a by right build-out with multifamily housing and without multifamily housing. With housing, development generates net revenue of almost $3.2 million per year, and without housing, it generates $4.5 million per year. The fiscal impact analysis also studied the impact of development by special permit conditions. With housing by special permit, development generates net revenues of over $6 million per year. Without housing, development generates net revenues of over $8 million per year. We believe that responsible development would generate net revenues of somewhere between 60 to 70 million dollars over 10 years. That represents funding to support improvements for schools and education programs, additional training for our first responders, including mental health services, equitable housing programs, and a recreational center, in addition to the many capital improvement projects already in front of the town. As town meeting debates where it decides to prioritize spending, one thing is sure. This level of net positive impact will ease the residential tax burden. We believe this is the best proposal to achieve our primary goal of improving our gateway that gives the town maximum and meaningful control over development while unlocking substantial benefits for our town now. If town meeting passes Articles 5 and 6, a developer will be required to submit an application that will be rigorously vetted, especially for its traffic and fiscal impacts, among others. This process will include opportunities for public participation that can inform the outcome of development, just as it has informed our zoning framework today. This is our proposal for town meeting, and we are asking for your affirmative support on Articles 5 and 6. Thank you.